We're in an age of massive open world games, yet some of the most beloved games actually take place in small, close-knit worlds. And I want to talk about why do smaller maps in games give us better experience than the larger ones found in bigger games. As you always know, bigger isn't always better. Large open world games can sometimes feel quite empty, depending on the design, depending on the NPCs and quests as well. Some open world games, if they have a bad design, well, for example, if you have a tree here and a tree 5 miles away, the game will feel barren. That is also for NPCs. If the NPCs are always in communities that you have to visit and none in the open world, that world will feel dead. It's crucial to have NPCs move around the world to make it feel more alive. And that is always the same for nature, for animals, for everything. And that's why smaller maps often feel richer, more active. Everywhere you turn, you'll see something. And that's a great thing. We're creatures that always strive to be active, to see something, to grab our attention. And having a really active area is really beneficial to the game. Let's just take Stardew Valley for example, or Fields of Mistria. There are animals, bugs, and NPCs going around their own days, and that makes the world feel more alive, even though the game world is small, but having all of those elements will make it feel that it's quite more bigger. In a smaller world, every corner matters. From the pathways, to the bushes, to the trees. Everything adds to that experience that you have in the game. And because of that, you can discover more surprises, because nothing feels like filler. Basically, you don't feel like you're walking in an empty area. And these smaller spaces can have a big impact on the players. It's easier to remember locations, know where to find stuff, and to find the NPCs as well, so you won't get lost. The smaller density of the game world, and the bigger attention to detail, will make the game more interesting for the players, and that more enjoyable, so more and more will go back to the game after a while. But with these smaller worlds, there is a bit of a downside sometimes. For example, after you play for a while, you'll get tired of the same world. Even though for the cozy games, there's always seasons that will change the game, for example fall, spring, summer, winter. But even after that, after you play through a couple of seasons, you'll still get bored if there's nothing new. But that's the only downside for these types of games. I think it's mostly due to the fact that we play open world games, and when we're closed into a smaller world, the idea for something more is always there. We want to find something more, we want to explore beyond the limit. And that's where usually DLCs come. They add more areas, more NPCs, and more stuff to the game. And that's when you come back to the game, you enjoy that part as well, until you repeat that loop. But even though this downside is there, it's not that bad. You can still play the game and explore the world that you're offered, making memories for that time. And after a while switch to another game, until it's time to come back to this one. That type of game usually builds comfort and attachment. It's like returning to a favorite cafe shop in real life. For me, the Stardew Valley Town Square and Saloon as well usually feel like home, like it's a part that I usually visit. Not Pierre though, not Pierre. For the larger maps, they can be tiring. You'll spend more time traveling than playing. And that's a downside for real. If while you're traveling you don't experience something new, that's a minus. You always have to experience something at least in the game. Because when you're traveling, even an animal on the road will feel it more memorable. You will remember that. I still remember to this day, I was being chased by a rat in Oblivion. Like for real, a rat in a field. It was winter outside and the fields in Oblivion were golden, and a rat was scurrying around through the grass. I couldn't see it, but I got on a rock and started shooting with arrows. Like, it was such a memorable experience, even though it was nothing special. And what about you? Do you have any similar memories to this? Like it's nothing special, but it stayed with you all this time? Please let me know down below. And that's why smaller worlds keep things compact and offer you a more lively experience. It's short, but unforgettable. And you can also tell a story through the game world as well. Having some decorations of ruins or some signs can also add to the experience, even though there's nothing else connected to those. It can just make you wonder, what was there in the past? Why is it ruined now? What was the story behind that spot? It will leave it to the player's imagination to make a story about that certain location. And that's usually well spent in the smaller game worlds, because you can add more of these which will interconnect to themselves. While in larger game worlds it's really hard to pinpoint some of those ruins. It won't really make you feel that you want to know what happened here, if it's really badly executed. For example, in an empty world, you'll see a pillar out of nowhere and you won't know why it's there. But in a smaller world, you'll see all of the interconnected ruins and you'll think to yourself like, was there a town in the past here? Was there a huge city? And more. And in the long run, for example, smaller worlds tend to have more care put in from the developers instead of bigger ones. Because it's quite easier for developers to polish and fine-tune smaller maps than the larger ones. There's better performance, fewer bugs, more consistent art, and the story as well as NPCs that happen to go there is more easily tuned in. This attention to detail makes the world feel that more special. And in bigger games, that's rarely the case these days. In the past, yes. However, nowadays, everyone is taking more for the profit side than for the experience. Games like Stardew Valley, Traveler's Rest, Fields of Mystria, Core Keeper, and Graveyard Keeper as well. They all have that world, that small neat world that offers a huge and vast experience. For some, the map areas are larger than the others, but it's the same experience nonetheless. For example, for Core Keeper, you have a vast area to explore similar to Terraria. The world is randomly generated. While for Stardew Valley, the world is set in stone. That's it. You have the town, the mountains, the forest, and the farm. And in the update, Ginger Island. But even though it's such a small area, the replayability of it is quite large. You have so much to do, from decorating the farm, to going out and mingling with the villagers, to getting married. There's so many stuff to do in this small map, and that's the thing that I really love. I want to have a world which is really well built. I don't want like open areas that are quite empty. One of the things that I really dislike is having a really huge vast open world, and because the developers didn't care too much, they put one tree there, after 5 kilometers another tree and more. That feels so lackluster, and I feel that they didn't put enough effort into it. Even though the rest of the game, the mechanics and everything feels so much polished, the world didn't get enough love. And that's not the same thing with the smaller game worlds. That leaves the developers time to focus on everything, every single detail on the maps. And those are the types of games that I think will succeed in the long run. And the best part is, it's really easy to add DLC content to those types of games. Because they're polished to a maximum, they can easily focus on adding new content instead of fixing bugs from the old one. That's why I think smaller game maps can actually give us more experience and bigger memories than the larger ones. They're easier to explore, feel more personal, and are full of meaning because the developers put care into those. I really want to know what's your favorite small but rich game world. Do share it in the comments below, I love to see your picks. Which games do you spend your most time into it, and which ones gave you the best memories? I hope you all had a great time watching this video, and if you did, please do press that like button, it helps me out a lot. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you all in my next one. But till then, stay safe,